there's the I'll call this meeting of the Gilchrist County Board of County Commissioners to order. It's May the 5th, 2025. We appreciate everybody coming out. I've asked Commissioner Thomas to lead our minds in prayer, and I'll lead us in our flag. So if you'll silence your devices, we'll open with a prayer.
Let us pray. Lord, we come to you today and we ask you for guidance at this meeting and help us make the right decisions best for Gilchrist County and are pleasing to you. We ask you to be with the sick and poor and people who's lost loved ones. We ask you to be with our law enforcement, our military people, and keep them safe. And be with this country, Lord, and be with us in the shortfalls of life. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Address the flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, everyone had a chance to look at the agenda.
Mr.
Second.
Chairman,
Okay,
I'm sorry, we do have one agenda change, but we were lucky enough that it was able to be added. It's just the appraisal on the property. It's under my report.
okay, so you're gonna add that to the agenda?
Yes, sir. It's actually on the web. It'll be up. Ms.
Okay.
Karen got it added, but it is under agenda changes. Did you pass it?
Oh, okay, I see it now. Minimal miscellaneous, okay.
You should have a handout for it also.
Okay, I had a motion from Commissioner Thomas and a second from Commissioner Langford to approve the agenda. The appraisal is already on there, so there's no, anybody have any changes? Duke, you have any?
No, none,
Todd?
Mr. Chairman. No, sir.
Okay, any more discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion passed. Okay, let's look at the consent agenda. Everybody had a chance to look at that?
Motion to approve?
Okay, I have a motion from Commissioner Smith. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second from Commissioner Martin to approve the consent agenda. Is there any more discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion passed. Public participation. Anybody from the public would like to address the board at this time? You'll have an opportunity now, and you'll have one at the end of the meeting. Okay? Constitutional officers? You're at 4:15. We have a time certain for you, sir. Thank you. Do you want, no, you want to speak to as a public?
Yeah.
Okay. 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 Let me back up then. I call for constitutional officer. I'm gonna call for public participation first. You come on.
Oh, okay.
We're ready.
So, I grew up here, I'm Donnie Slayton, I live out near the County Line Road off of 21st. I lived there, I retired from the military 3 years ago and moved back home with my family, and, we built a home on 10 acres off of 21st and
Southeast, northeast, or what?
Northeast.
right off of 80th.
Okay, I know where it's at now.
Yes, ma'am.
There's a
That's
couple
the,
county
that's
line-
the blue, across.
Yeah,
from the Blue
there's a
Springs
couple
Road?
county line grades.
Yeah,
I
so
wanna
it
make
goes all the
sure.
way across from Blue Springs all
Yeah.
the way to 337.
Yes,
So I live on the 337 end.
Yeah.
You graduated from Bell, right?
Yes, sir.
I know who you.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
One of my students.
Yeah, so, we moved back home, and, the road, when you turn off the 80th on 21st, I don't know why, but for the first half a mile or so, it's dirt, and then it turns to asphalt.
That subdivision was,
Subdivision.
had
Yeah,
have
so,
paved streets. Yeah.
That road, from that asphalt to the corner of 80th and 21st, it gets really bad.
Mhm.
And, we, not just for vehicle purposes, but, for the homestead period, it's causing a lot of damage to vehicles and,
Mhm.
I just wanna see if there's a way that we could get it paved or even, crushed gravel, asphalt, milling, something, to try to reduce the wear and tear on our vehicles as far as shocks and the undercarriage, engine.
I had a previous call a couple weeks ago, and I went out and looked at it, and I'm trying to work with the road department to see if we can get that asphalt ripper out there what it does is it mixes about 6 inches and redoes it, and I don't know if we could put some some milling on there or something. Asphalt's probably out of the question, but we could put some milling or some more lime rock, could definitely put some more lime rock and make it a better road. But yeah, I have looked at it, I'm aware of it, but, we just gotta get it on the schedule and hopefully.
Yeah, I know that where the asphalt ends, is there a way we can just continue it to the corner of 21st and 80th, just to that stop sign? I don't, roughly, I would say it's less than half a mile. It's probably about,
May I ask a question, just so I can get my bearings? This is right off of 337 Dixie Grade, is that correct?
well, yeah.
No.
No,
Okay,
it's off of 80th, which is the road
Okay,
across
yeah,
the
okay.
Blue Springs.
okay, yep,
I drove that today and they just finished grading it, which is nice, so
Okay,
it's
good.
a lot
All right.
nicer, but he does have an issue on 21st where 21st takes off
Mhm.
and goes, it's dirt road and then turns into pavement. And that section it's always bad, but
Yeah, well, I
it's.
got the 2018
Okay.
Tahoe, I had to replace the shocks already, and my door hinges were bad,
I just wanted to get my bearings correctly, and the only reason I wanted to is the one on 337 is a private road, that's why I was asking.
Oh, yeah,
Okay.
sorry.
Yeah,
Well,
I'm
you
just
know
trying to,
where, Dixie crosses,
I know where, yeah, I know,
80th?
I know
Yeah,
where you're
okay.
talking about, I just
There's
want to
like,
make sure I was
there's
on the
like
right
two
one.
grades that go into that subdivision, and he's on the last one.
Yeah, the
Maybe
last one.
3 of them.
Yeah, so if you come from 340, it's all the way to the other end before 337, it's the last.
Before you hit the 337.
Yeah, on the right.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Well, we're gonna, as I said, we're gonna see if we can't get the asphalt ripper to go in and mix maybe some ground asphalt or something with it to make it a lot better.
Yeah, I'm willing to help, I'll do whatever I can do, I don't care.
Okay, at one time, you had talked to me and you said about possibly getting the residents together and
Doing a petition or,
doing a petition of some sort to pave it or something like that, and you'd have to talk with Mr. Crosby about what paperwork needs to be done to get that done, but, if that's, we have done some of those in the past, so.
yeah, I'll do anything I need to do, just see if I gotta talk to.
All right.
Here's my number and email, if you want to email me your information, then I can forward you the documents that are required to be completed in the field, they're very simple,
I can do that.
okay?
Thank
All
you
right,
so much.
thank you for your
Thank you.
service.
Yes, sir.
Thank you for your service.
Yes, sir. Okay, any more public participation? Okay, I see no constitutional officers, so, we'll move on to, county administrator.
Yes, sir. The item I have before you, this came in, it may have been late Thursday, Friday.
Was this on the original agenda that was mailed to us?
No, ma'am.
Okay, I didn't think so.
an agenda change.
Okay.
And you should have had a handout and it's on there
Yeah.
as
Yeah,
well.
we do.
The reason I went ahead and brought it up to you, and I just want to provide it to you, you may want to wait till the next meeting, you may want to, give us some direction at this meeting. We had talked about the, property that was, located directly behind our solid waste facility and, possibly doing an option to purchase based on certain criteria that we'd have to be sure, zoning, geo, and just some things like
And we can
that.
speak to the neighbors and the public.
Right,
which
right.
I have.
And we were required to get appraisal. I never dreamed I'd have an appraisal back this fast, but we got one pretty quick. Their asking price was $399,000. The appraisal came back at $384,000, which is pretty close, closer than a lot of times appraisals come back. So I guess at that point, what we need to know, would you like us to move forward with, making an offer and then let Mr. Lang and I have kind of spoke about, a contract, and he said he'd be happy to prepare it with the options that y'all requested at the last meeting. So it would be an option to purchase only if we met those criteria, so it wouldn't mean we had to.
Have we looked at, you know, because that is a busy road with the school being there. You have both the elementary and the middle high school.
Mhm,
That road is already very, very congested.
mhm.
And you have kids walking back and forth during the day. Have we looked maybe like at the 47 site, buying some land around that?
We can look over there, that has been brought up, we would just have to go over there and try to do the geo and that type of thing. You know, one of the things that we were trying to do is, we just thought, if you look at a map, that is pretty centrally located in Gilchrist County. As far as if you're on the east, the west, even north and south, it's pretty centrally located.
You're talking about 47, Bobby? or-
No, I'm talking about where
Where's
it's
this
at
one?
right now.
Right, the
Yeah.
only, you know, it's just so congested right there, it's the only thing, and, you know,
Right.
the schools are only gonna get, you know, more kids, more traffic, and even, you know, if we did look at 47, that would be also closer to our, the landfill where we have to take the, you know, the trash off to, where we have to, you know, where we take it.
Yeah,
So,
I don't really want to discuss it too much today because I have had a phone call or so, and, they would want an opportunity to be here. So my thing would be wait till the next meeting.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I went
I've
out
had
and,
some
I
opposition.
went out and visited the site and talked with the people. There are some people that live, according to that map, I think they live,
In that house right there, I think.
yeah,
well, their house isn't on here because they just built their house.
they just bought that property.
But they built a house in those pines to the left, and they have a direct site to the,
I think there's a house
it's
in
right,
there.
yeah, right in that area,
No.
excuse me.
It's on that
There's
side.
one there, and then there's some houses in here too.
Nope,
yeah.
you're talking about the ones that just built, it's gonna be on this.
If you're talking about the whites, it's
The
under,
whites.
under the white
Right,
block.
right there's where the white.
No, sir, it's not,
It's over there
No,
under the,
it's on that
under the
side,
white block.
right there. Keep on going over,
Yeah, right.
down a
Okay,
little
yeah, I
bit.
see, okay, yeah, right in here, got you.
Okay, you're correct.
No, it's more closer to the line, but it's in the middle. where
Right,
there's
but
no
it's in this
trees.
track.
I spoke to them, they had some questions, I went out and we rode the land a little bit and looked, and, they, of course, they don't want it, but if does go through, they had some concerns about being able to leave those planted pines, to an area where they don't have a direct site to it. And then also to get to their property, they have an area that floods. And now they have access down that other road around the back to their property. And they were hoping that if something like that happened again, if it does flood again, they would still like to have access to their property through that thing. And I said, well, that's all things that we would have to discuss and talk about. They told me they were gonna be out of town today and they wouldn't be able to attend. And I told them I'd at least, well, convey to everybody what had gone on, so.
You also gotta remember, this property has to be rezoned.
Yeah.
That would be part of one of the criteria, which means in that process, you have to advertise it and you have to have a public meeting. So there will be a public meeting, you know, for people to come. And then if you don't agree, then you don't rezone it, you know? But you would have an actual advertised public meeting, or you could have a meeting to discuss it. But you know, however y'all want to do it. Y'all asked us to get an appraisal. We got an appraisal. We brought the appraisal back. You know, there's,
What are you asking for today, Bob?
the only thing that, you know, you've got a piece of property here that they have agreed to do an option on based on certain criteria. If they do the geo and you can't use it, then you don't have to purchase it. If it winds up not being zoned for public, then you don't have to purchase it. So seems like there was one other option we had in there too, and I've got it written down, but I can't remember it. That might have been the main two, but, and that's what, so I just didn't know if y'all want us to go ahead and try to enter into, just an option to purchase in case you decide you want it, you know, they're willing to take it off the market while you make these decisions, or do you wanna just leave it on the market, you know? You got a couple, but, you know, I just want to get that back to y'all. We can do it however, you know, I understand what everybody's saying, you know, there's a lot of land here. There can be a 50-foot buffer, that's enough. There may be a 100-foot buffer. You know, it may be one day that we can get the money that this road here winds up being a paved road and takes us completely off of 10th. You know, there's a lot of things in the future, but it also, we can go look anywhere y'all would like to look. Y'all just tell us where you
I
want us
just
to
know
look.
that road is very congested.
And then we'll look. Yeah, we can't schedule the time people bring trash, but we schedule our trucks to not be moving.
I think if you're looking at that on the 47th side, by Atlantic Jordan, I think there's a subdivision right north of it, and you don't get to fit there too.
Okay, so,
I also think, I think anywhere you get ready to put one of these,
yeah, that's true.
you're gonna have some opposition, and it's expected, and it's understood, it's understand. You know, the great thing is what we're doing is a transfer station and not, you know, a full-fledged landfill site. So, you know, bring it in, unload it, and load it back on. You know, and move it out. And they move it pretty quick, so it doesn't stand around and get stale and smell and trash smell.
And that was their concern, that they understand it may go in there and all that, but they just were hoping there would be some buffers and some things taken in consideration for the people for the ones that live around it. And I told them we would do our best to, of course, to have buffers and everything else around it, but I couldn't guarantee them anything.
I think for the courtesy of the people there, a recommendation that if you told me to design something from here, I would not bring it back with less than a 50 to 75-foot buffer, just for the courtesy of those surrounding people. There's no need when you got that much land, and you might need 10 acres of it, to put it right on top of somebody.
Here, before you make that motion, let me just say, I think probably what you need to do is you need to set this for a time certain at the next meeting, so that you have time to talk to your constituents about the concerns that they might have, because preparing the option is a very simple thing. Coming up with the price that you intend to insert into that option is an entirely different matter. Now, if you're gonna say, we're gonna go with this appraised value and not make any counter offer to what they're asking for the property, that's okay, but I mean, I don't know if you wanna have time to think about this, or if you wanna instruct me to do that, but.
Yeah, I would like to wait till the next meeting, that way if there's people that wanna come.
And set it for a time certain,
Mhm.
and then you can discuss it, because we do need to know what you intend to offer on this option to purchase, and then I can, of course, plug in, those criterias that you were discussing at the last board meeting.
Because this
That you want
wasn't
to see.
even on the
We
agenda
certainly want
either
title insurance and
originally.
some other things to go along with that, so.
Well, my main concern here today was to get this in your hands,
Yeah.
so y'all have it, and you can.
I don't
see it.
wanna act on it today.
Yeah, that's fine. Do we know a time? Do we have any available times?
We currently have a 4:15 and a 5 o'clock. So
Why
I would leave,
don't we do a 5 o'clock? That sound okay?
we do have a 5 o'clock.
Oh, you do? And a 4:15?
Yes.
Do a
So we
5:15.
have 4:30, 4:45, 5:15, 5:30.
What time would y'all like to do it? 4:30, 4:45?
Don't matter.
Let's do it at 4:30 and hope nothing else comes in. That gives us a little bit of time before the 5 o'clock window.
Okay.
And then Ms. Karen can have that on her advertised agenda, you can come back with some numbers as far as, you can do your own due diligence and come back with something that you want to plug into it.
Yeah. Bobby, I think what would help is, having some short presentation on why we need to expand, what we're expanding. We've all discussed this and kind of been through it, but everybody that's gonna be here might not have heard it. The other thing that would help is, and we talked to our engineer about looking at other options of, not only improving where we're at the Bell main facility, but can we spread out, some of these, basically make secondary collection sites somewhere else, so it would reduce It might reduce what size we build there, it might reduce the transportation coming in, the road congestion. I have the same concern, cause, and I've talked to Bobby Rush, and I know he's trying to schedule our trucks coming in when it's not congested, but you still have people, residents coming. So I just think having a brief overview of all that for our workshop, or our, not workshop, but time certain would help.
All right, so,
Can we notify the surrounding landowners? Because some people, they don't get on the internet and they don't look at the agenda, they don't, pick up the newspaper
I
or
think you could do
Facebook.
that if you did the zoning, wouldn't you, Bobby? Or would
they would get notified during the zoning process, but, I mean, we could let Mr. White know pretty easy. And
I'm just thinking, if we're gonna have, to notify all these property owners before we get too far ahead in the game.
I also, had someone approach me about the school is trying to deal with what they're gonna do with that crossing there with the students going to the ag building. They say it's become a real safety issue, and they're really concerned about that. So that's another thing to take in consideration. I don't know how they're gonna deal with it. I don't know what they can do. And, I mean, there was even some talk about an overpass or something like that, but I don't even know if that's doable as well. Just a suggestion, I think it was.
Commissioner Smith, just so I understand kind of what you're saying is, duplicate a site like we have in Bell to provide those same services in a different location with a tipping floor and everything.
I don't know how it would be best, and understand there's economies of scale by having the main scale facility, the main staff
Right.
at the Bell location, but if we're collecting in Walkasassa and hauling it to Bell, or if we're collecting on 47 and hauling it to Bell, is there a way to do something smaller than what we plan on doing in Bell on the east side and reduce the footprint and, the congestion?
Cause on the east side, we're hauling it to Bell, then we're hauling it
Right.
back to the east side and, where we,
Yeah, I don't know all the economics
If-
of it you guys do and the engineers do, and
So my understanding of last time we had this discussion from Bobby Rush was that the problem with that is that they bring it from those ancillary sites to the main site in Bell, and then they have to dump it out and put it into trucks that get shipped out. So what you're referring to, you'd have to create another solid waste site. And the last I heard, that was around $7 million is what we're proposing. So in order to do something similar, I don't know that you're gonna take that new site and shrink it down to where you're gonna save money by creating another similar site, on the other side of the county.
It'd take additional staff and additional equipment to do the
Yeah.
same thing.
And you gotta have space to do it, whatever site that is. And right now, I know on the southeast side, we don't have
there's
space.
not space there.
So we'd have to buy property around that, and I don't know that there's any property around it that's available. So,
yeah.
And then you come back to take your money you said.
I don't remember. I used to know that number. I think it's 3 or 4. Okay. 3 or 4. And I think.
Well,
that's kind
I
of
think I think we've got an opportunity that might leave us if we don't move on it, but, again, I know the only resident I've talked to is one, and they understand it may go in, they were just hoping that there would be some buffers and things that went in if it did, and, of course, they don't wanna see it go in, but nobody wants to see it go in if it's next to you. But I think it's a good spot. There's not real congested anywhere else around it. And if you're gonna only take, 5, 6, 7 acres and build it, you're gonna have a buffer all the way around everybody. So I think it's an ideal spot, but I think it needs to be, we need to be considerate of those who live around it if we do build it, to try to leave some type of buffer. So that's what I was, but I don't wanna, I really don't wanna lose this opportunity because we're probably not gonna get this opportunity again and and you can see that what we've got up there now is not really enough room to make much of an expansion that we need to make, so.
You can
That's
see,
where I stand on it. I think we ought to,
unfortunately, all this right here
can't be used.
can't be used.
That's right.
So what's the pleasure of the board?
We're gonna, it's gonna be on, time certain, four
Yeah,
thirty.
we got
Well,
it for a
and,
time certain on, at the next meeting at 4:30.
Okay. All right. We do have a time certain. Mr. Kramer?
Thank you guys, for having me. Sorry about the confusion. Often, people forget that your constitutional officers include the state attorney and the public defender.
That's true.
So that's why I was about to get up and start talking when you got the constitutional officers. We're often forgotten, as being-
We'll just merge it together.
What's that?
We'll just merge it together.
There you go. But thank you all for having me. I just want to do a couple of things. One is, I wanted to come in, and I know that most of you all know me or have seen me, and certainly some of you saw me when we were campaigning and that type of thing. But I wanted to come in and introduce myself and give you my card, which I've given you because it has my personal contact information. It has my personal cell phone number and invite you to use it if you need it, for any reason. When we were campaigning and, you know, I'm very thankful for Gilchrist County because Gilchrist County, I think, voted for me at 88%, which is fantastic. But a lot of people talked about being a servant, you know, having a servant's heart, and after the campaign was through, I have now a new executive director. This is Rebecca Shinholster. She's my new executive director. And we talked about, well, how, you know, kind of how can we better serve the communities, especially what we call our regional counties. Because Loudon County is the Circuit C, and then I have, of course, Union, Baker, Bradford, Lincoln, and Gilchrist County. And so one of the things I decided I wanted to do was to come to each of the counties, commissions, and each of the city commissions. So we have a long list of folks to see across those 6 counties and introduce myself, give you my card, and tell you that I'm available to you because you're the community leaders and you're the ones who hear about problems in the community. And I know you guys have an excellent, your own attorney that you can turn to for those kind of questions. But sometimes there are matters that are coming up that might be in another county, in Gainesville, or it's in the criminal justice system. You have a question or concern, and your constituents have a question or concern. And so I thought that that's one of the best ways I could be a servant to this community was to come out here, stand before you, give you my contact information, and invite you to contact me anytime you need my services, or if you just don't know whose services you do. Because I am more than happy to try to figure out who is the right person to solve the problem. I had somebody call me a couple months ago about a young man, young child, boy, who was in foster care, and he had moved to a new foster home because they didn't know how to get his medication. And if he needed medication, he had the money for it, whatever. So that's not me. I can promise you that is not the responsibility of the state attorney. But I knew the right people to talk, and we called them, and we had it before the end of the day. And so, you know, that's what I really want to communicate to you all is that I said it during the election, I mean it now, which is that I have a servant's heart. I want to serve the community. The other thing I wanted to do is I want to talk a little bit about my office and tell you about some changes that are coming and that they do have what I'll call a small impact on you. So my office, as you know, is we prosecute criminal cases. That's our primary function. And we do some other things that are super boring that I won't bother you with. Bond validation might be the only one that you might ever be involved in that I would be involved in. If you guys trying to validate a bond. We prosecute about 17,000 individual criminal cases per year. And things have changed. And certainly in my 31-year career in prosecution, things have changed. And the number one place where they have changed is in an area called digital forensic evidence. So, and I don't know if some of the regional counties, some of their law enforcement have body cameras, some don't have body cameras. But that is the most common form of digital forensic evidence that has changed. I can look over here and see, I see a body camera. so I'm gonna assume you all do have body cameras. And that's the most common place that it's changed is in body cameras, but it's not just body cameras. It's that camera right there. It's license plate readers. It's surveillance cameras. It's ring cameras. And so in 2023, we downloaded 26,000 individual files per month.
Wow, a lot.
Okay? And
Wow.
this is where our business is changing. And so the way that works is just like if you wanted to watch something on YouTube or Netflix, I have people who click, till they find what they're looking for, and then they download it, okay? Then they have to categorize it, they have to look at it, they have to understand what it is, they have to figure out what case it goes to, they have to input all that information, and they have to upload it into my case management system, so your assistant state attorney, Larry L. Thomas, I'm sure most of you all know, and some of you enjoy, can have that, information available to you. And that is an unsustainable process. It's not gonna get smaller in the next, time going on. It's gonna get more. So we have implemented a system to fix that. And that system is, it's a digital forensic evidence management system that essentially allows an agency, for instance, the Gilchrist County Sheriff's Office, they have a couple of different ways they'll now be able to interface with us. One is that when they need to send us something or when we request information from them, we'll simply send them something that looks just like an email. They'll drop and drag it in whatever they're trying to give us, and they'll shoot it off and it'll go right into the system. It's already categorized. No one has to upload it. It tells the system what it is and all that. But it's also for your citizens. So it used to be if a citizen would come into our office and say, I've got pictures on my cell phone of what happened. I've got a video on my cell phone of what happened. I've got it back home on my computer. We would have to, in some instances, we'd have to take their phone from them and then take the phone to the sheriff's office and get the sheriff's office to download it. Or maybe here we might have to take it to Gainesville to have the Gainesville Police Department download it. They'll help us with stuff like that. It won't be, it's not like that anymore. Now we're able to send you something on your telephone. You can select it right out of your photos or your videos, click on it, and it goes right into our system and it gets right in. So it's convenient for the citizen and it's convenient for the agency. Now the agency can elect to implement something that's called an API. And that essentially allows their case management system to talk to our records management system, so that they don't have to have a human being who sits there and answers our requests for information, because we're constantly bombarding them with, hey, we need all the video from this, we need that, we need reports from that. It will allow those two systems to talk together. So our hope is that moving forward, that we already have Baker County is up and running with our system, that moving forward, it'll be a labor savings for the sheriff's office if they choose to go in that direction. There is some amount of cost associated with that, but I'm guessing that in the future, they'll be able to recoup that cost by saving labor or redirecting labor that was being spent on answering requests from the state attorney's office to serving the people of Gilchrist County. So that does cost, and ultimately the cost, I want to tell you, I'll tell you the number, so you're not holding back on me, $8,100 to Gilchrist County. But I want to explain how that number is derived, so you have some understanding, because this isn't something that really comes up a lot. I think since I became the executive director in 2012, we've never asked for an increase from Gilchrist County. Our budget has been static as far as I know since 2012. The first thing to understand is, where does all my money come from? 95% of my money comes from the state of Florida, and it's for the payment of human beings. My most valuable asset is my human capital, and that is all paid for by the state government. And I'm about $12 million. About 5% of what it costs to run the state attorney's office is what we call money that comes from Article 5. The counties are required to provide three things. They're required to provide telecommunications. They're required to provide the physical space that we occupy, and they're required to provide computer services that we need to operate the office. So how is that done? Well, in my office, we run a whole bunch of budgets. The big one, 95%, is with the state of Florida. Then we have 6 individual budgets for each county that are specific to your particular needs. So, whatever it costs to run the phones over here and to have the office space, that's a budget. For instance, Lee County, they just put in a panic system with their courthouse. So if there's an emergency, you can push it up. Right, but that's part of that goes on their budget, then on your budget, okay? That's specific to them. In order for, us to be most efficient with the money that it takes to run the computer system for the office, and we have a records management system, and we now have this digital forensic evidence management system. Again, 2 systems. The most efficient way to run that is to run it out of Gainesville, and all the physical equipment that runs it is in Gainesville. So we don't buy a server for Gilchrist County and try and house all the software that's associated with running these programs in Gilchrist County and any other county, because that would be incredibly expensive. It is derived through what's called the shared IT budget. And interestingly, another county, when I was doing this conversation from another county, they said, well, how does that come up? And here's what we found out. No one knows. Okay. So, I put Rebecca on it, and we went back and we had to ask the people in Lafayette County, and it's like, well, that's the way it's been. So that's the best answer I know. That's the way it's always been. It predates me by a lot. Probably goes back to when we first got computers. So what happens is it is divided by the population of the county. And the question was from Union County, because they're like, we got a lot of inmates here in Union County. Does it include inmates? You know, and I'm like, I don't know. So we were trying to figure out that for them, but that's how it's derived. Lafayette County is about 67%. And then Union and Gilchrist are the same. What is it about? Yeah, the percentage is fairly small, because it's $8,100. So it's gonna increase your cost. And of course, I don't know if this is a budgeting meeting. Y'all may have other budgeting meetings where that comes up. And I know that in the past, I'm very cognizant of the times in the past. For instance, Levy County wanted to cut our IT budget. And it's very difficult for me to cut the IT budget because it's a percentage of the total cost that's divided amongst a bunch of folks, right? Mm-hmm. And so they wanted to cut my IT budget, and I had to tell them, no, please don't. And they cut because they were out of money. So they cut my shredding budget, and that's because that's part of what is paid individually. They cut me down to 0. I had to haul all the shredding to Gainesville. Just don't tell me so. For a while, they're paying for me to kind of shred. But because that is a fixed cost that's being divided. So that's how it kind of comes out. And honestly, I don't know what would happen if there was a problem with that, because it's really a county problem. There'd be more of a problem for the 6 counties to decide how they want to deal with it than it would be for me, because my job is to say, this is what we need to run the office. Okay. And it's up to the counties really to decide how they want to apportion that cost. No one's ever, as far as I know, challenged the population thing, but that's really how it's done. Mm-hmm. And I just wanted to come out here and tell y'all that's what's happening. It's incredibly necessary. I have 9 people who work on 9 full-time FTEs who work on downloading and categorizing information.
And if the system goes in by everybody, those 9 could be doing something different.
Or there may be attrition, or we may not replace those folks. Unfortunately for me, I can't move money between that 5% and that 95%. If I save money on one side, it doesn't work to save it on the other side because we can come from different sources.
I have a question for you. I had a constituent ask me about a court case, and he wanted to get a hold of you.
Yeah.
So I had no number directly, so I went on the website and got the number for your office.
Yep.
Is that the best thing to do? You don't want me to give him this, do you?
Well, it depends who it is. I mean,
Probably not.
how mad are you?
He didn't get the answer he was looking for, so you probably want him to call you.
I'm the disappointment business. I gotta be honest with you. We only find about 70% of the cases that come through our door, and that's because our job is to determine not whether it's probable cause, that's what the police determine. Our job is to determine whether it's beyond a reasonable doubt.
Yeah.
We're in the disappointment business, so we are very familiar with people calling up and saying they're not happy with the result. I have a team of people who do that. And
Well, I
if there's somebody you want me to talk to directly, I'm happy to do it. But we'll first turn them to the lawyer who handled the case, then their supervisor, then there's a supervisor beyond that.
yeah, well, I just encourage him to call your office and see what kind of answer, he would get. Maybe satisfying, make him happy.
Yeah.
Told him you was a nice guy, you would work with him, you'd do anything you could. I assured him that, and I know you will. But he, that was the only thing I know to do is get him the number.
No, it's a good answer. And on the back, on the card there also is my assistant's name and number, that's Amy Christmas. And if y'all don't, she'll get them to the right person if it's not me. Because we prefer that they hear it first from the lawyer who made the decision. Because
Right.
they're gonna have the most knowledge.
Right.
They're gonna be the ones who spoke with the witnesses, especially if it's somebody who's disappointed, They're gonna be the ones who have spoken with the witness, spoken with the people, spoken to the police officers. So we want them to hear it from that person first, and then if it's necessary, they can speak with at least two more supervisors before they get to me. Because I have 130, employees, I have 45 lawyers and probably close to 9 supervisors. Plus Heather Jones, who's the chief assistant, and then Rebecca, who's head of all of my office, and she's my assistant city attorney as well. So, we're always happy to speak to people. It's something that we do a lot. It's
Yeah.
a lot because it's just the nature of the business that we
Well,
do.
I would hope I don't never have to call you.
I always tell people, if you're meeting me, you're going to be disappointed. You're either a defendant, they don't like us.
Yeah.
A victim, they are unhappy that they have to deal with us. Or you're a witness, who we are gonna take your time and do nothing to compensate you for it. Right, so very few people are really enthusiastic that they've had to interact with state.
Anybody else have any more questions?
So we can plan on, adding, $8,100 to our,
Shared IT.
sheriff's office?
Shared IT budget.
Yep.
Where you're
Okay.
gonna add it. I'm hoping that in the future, I don't think it's gonna happen this year. It depends. What I hope will happen is that we'll be able to look at Baker County and say, here's the experience Baker County has had. They jumped on it right away as soon as we told them this is happening, and they said, we want the API. And so my hope is I'll be able to tell Sheriff Schultz, hey, can you go take a look at Baker County, see if it's right for you? If it is, then the money is the money, the cost will cost, and you may make some savings out of it.
Are police departments gonna be required to do this also? So Trenton City would probably do it and the sheriff's office, or can they share?
Well, I don't know how they work. I would suspect because Trenton is a very small agency that an API would be too expensive for them.
Well, that's why I was wondering, it might be a shared thing they could use. I don't know if it can be shared, and that way we could share
If they are on
expenses
the
also.
same records management system, it could be shared. That's what matters. It's a connection between the sheriff's office records management system and the digital forensic evidence management system that lives at my office.
Bobby then might have to answer that question.
And I really am hoping that to be able to show Sheriff Schultz something concrete first and say, here's how it works. And if you like it, if you think this is a better way forward for the sheriff's office and more cost efficient, that then he can take it up with y'all if it's gonna change his budget. I don't think it's that expensive. 30,000-ish. Yeah. It depends on who they have as their records management service provider and whether or not that company already has an API and they just need to give them that API or whether they have to go out and build it. So it's hard.
Okay, anybody have anything else?
Thank you for being.
Thank you guys
Thank
very
you.
much.
Thank
for
you.
having me.
Appreciate it.
Really appreciate the opportunity to do.
Thank you both of you for coming.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Come back anytime.
Good seeing you.
This is off the record. Mr. Harrell, I need to see you before you leave today, if I could. Okay. Bobby, you have anything else?
No, sir, that's okay.
Okay. Mr. Lane?
Yes, the first thing I have up today is resolution number 2025-14. It's on the screen there before you. This is a resolution by the Gilchrist County Board of County Commissioners expressing support for the state of Florida's EOG DOGE efforts and further indicating the county's desire to cooperate with efforts to identify efficiencies and best practices, thereby saving taxpayer dollars and providing an effective date. And that's reading by title only. This resolution was prepared upon some information that the clerk, Mr. Newton, had forwarded to me from another entity that entertained that. But it essentially says we'll cooperate in any way possible with the governor's Doge efforts.
Motion to approve resolution 2025-14.
Second?
Okay, I have a motion by Commissioner Sharon Laker and a second by Commissioner Darrell Smith to approve resolution number 2025-14. Is there any discussion?
Just, as we discussed, I think last meeting, we are already cooperating with the governor's office and providing them information on our finances and have had audits, which we discussed is really looking at something
Yep.
a little different, making sure we're technically correct with state audit laws, and they've always been good, right, audits.
Correct.
But I think this is just to reinforce what we've been doing.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay, any more discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion passed.
Second thing I have, Mr. Chairman, is just an update. We had discussed at the last meeting about a gift that Mr. Nelson Lunday had proposed giving us of 1 acre adjacent to Gilchrist County Road number Northeast 70th Avenue. Since that, meeting occurred, he got a call from the gentleman he was going to convey the easement to, who has now, through his attorney, suggested to Mr. Lunday that he would like to buy that. So therefore, that gift is off the table unless the board wants to buy it themselves, which I spoke with Mr. Crosby about it. I don't perceive any benefit to the county for purchasing that. As a matter of fact, it seems like, extra liability on the gentleman that would perhaps be buying that. But I just wanted to give you an update on that because we were all set to go with that gift, and then he let me know that he had been approached about purchasing it, so I said, good for you.
Yeah.
Purchasing, so,
Well, now, would that cause any of the rest of the landowners any issues, access? It will.
well, some of those landowners, it doesn't appear without having the survey here before me. Some of those people are going across Mr. Landay's property to get to 70th, and it might create some sort of problem with them. But then if they don't have access, they'll be in the same position that Mr. Chipone was in when he had to sue Mr. Landay for an easement for himself. So, but that's the situation.
But that's not our fault, and it's not,
No, it's not our
it's
fault.
not our problem to solve.
That's exactly right. I
Right.
think in the legal realm, that's called a hiatus. There's a hiatus between our road and where their property starts. That had a little sliver separating the two. And they're going from our road across Mr. Landay's to get onto their lots and have been doing it for years and years. And they very well might have, what's called an easement by prescription from long years of usage, and that's the only access that they have available. But that will be between them and the gentleman that buys the property.
Right.
We're not blocking them.
Right.
Okay?
Might have
And-
helped us in the long run.
Yep.
It might have helped us in the long run.
Good, it could. And then the last thing was just a point of information as well. It's a closeout letter that we'd received from, Ms. Boyce that closes out the Duke Energy solar farm case. Our understanding is that all the appeals are over with, everything's done, and so the case has been closed. I just wanted to give you that for the record and for the minutes.
That was the one up on the far end of the county.
Northeastern, yes, near High Springs, near your area, Tommy. Questions?
What that cost us to load the beach?
We'd have to go back and figure it out. Probably more than you want to know.
Did the, electric company, did they pay any of that?
They paid for their attorney.
Yeah, they paid their portion.
They paid their portion. We paid our portion.
Can we go back and try to get that money?
I don't think you can. I think that there were some justiciable issues that were involved in the case such that would prevent you from, being able to collect attorney's fees.
Wow.
That's what Ms. Boyce has advised us. And she gave us a written opinion to that effect.
Yeah, as part of the discussion and the legislature and the bill that was proposed by Senator Bradley, we communicated that concern. And it was heard along with the concern of losing, ag land after a certain number of facilities. And what I understand now is the bill has died. It's not gonna go forward. And,
Even in part,
I've
that
heard
you
it.
and I had discussed, it
Yeah.
completely dies.
it's pretty well,
I heard that it may come back up, but when they come back though, it's not.
I can't.
it had to be, one of the bills on the continuing, I forget now the term, but to be considered in that special session.
I talked with Chad Johnson Friday night. He said that, like you said, it's pretty much a dead issue right now. He said what they're gonna have to do is during the off season, they're gonna have to go back and redo some things and represent it. He said it's not going away. It's just that it's not gonna pass like it is.
This session.
She said, we're just gonna have to get our heads together and come up with something that'll try to make both sides happy if that's possible. But he said, he did tell me that it didn't look like it was gonna go anywhere, not this year anyway.
Well, I think that bill did, if the bill, everybody kind of understood that was a long shot, but it was a good shot.
Yeah,
Because what it did do, it drew attention to it, and people are already talking about it next year. It didn't just fall away. So it has gotten, and I think probably through the process, we've learned a little bit, maybe better a way to attack this.
Yeah.
And, so I think even though we would have loved to have seen it pass, I think it did accomplish a lot, even though it didn't pass, because it really brought it to a higher level of attention.
it did, and that's what I told Representative Johnson, at least we've got everybody talking and we got them at the table, and we'll come up with some resolution. It may not be what we want, it may not be what they want, but maybe we can come up with something in the middle.
At least the citizens of Gilchrist County see that their concerns are our concerns.
Oh, yeah, well, not only that, other counties were involved, a lot of people were involved, and it made everybody aware of what our issues are and what their issues are.
We'll still get blamed for it though.
Yeah. That's part of the job.
Yeah.
That's part of it.
You know, we got blamed for it for years now, since they passed it. You know, we get blamed for it from the citizens.
Yeah.
That's our fault. You can't vote against the law. I mean, that's the law. You have to allow it.
I don't know how you could have been any more clear though, trying to explain.
I don't either.
It wasn't your personal feelings, it was the law.
I mean, I didn't want it either, but I mean, nothing I can do. It was the law.
That's all I had, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, Mr. Clerk?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So the only item I have on my report today is a budget recap. This is through May 1st. In the general fund, we've had year-to-date expenditures of just over $19.1 million on revenues of just under $16.9 million. Within those expenditures, we do have the transfer for the solid waste project, $3.5 million. So that's why the expenditures are a little out of,
For solid waste.
yeah, well, on the general though. In fire, we've got year-to-date expenditures of $788,000 versus revenues of just over 1.5 million. In transportation, we've got year-to-date expenditures of just over 2.1 million on revenues of just over 1.7 million. In EMS, we've got year-to-date expenditures of just over 1.4 million versus revenues of almost 1.9 million. And in solid waste, we've got year-to-date expenditures of 657,000 versus revenues of just over $1 million. If there's any questions on any of those?
Now, we got about 5 more months to finish this out. If you
Correct.
count May,
Correct.
May, June, July, August, September. What would help us to get, let's just say the general revenue? We budgeted 47, we're at 16. How are we where's the revenue gonna come in to make up that difference in these last 5 months? Is there gonna be some state funds, grants, all this stuff? It's gonna pile in and bring it up to, hopefully bring it up to the 47 that we budgeted.
Well, I wouldn't anticipate we'd get to the 47 million. The 47 million incorporates like every project that you have out there. It also So basically, all of your road projects would have to be fully expended this year and fully reimbursed.
Because of the way we budget them.
Correct. So you wouldn't anticipate that would occur.
Right.
I've never seen it,
No, it won't happen.
so.
Is there any particular departments that concern you?
Well, we're keeping our eye on, transportation and EMS. You know, it does appear, that those have the potential of getting close to or potentially exceeding budget. So we're trying to keep an eye on those.
Is there anything we can do to help those two?
Limited expenditures, but outside of that, I mean, you know, there's a certain amount of things that are going to occur, you know, regardless of what we want to happen. I mean, in EMS, you know, you can try and limit overtime, but sometimes that's challenging because you've got vacations, you've got people out sick. And so, you know, sometimes you can limit overtime, but sometimes you can't.
Yeah.
You know, because you do have to staff for the emergency.
And you're dealing with emergencies.
Correct.
Captain?
But we have been monitoring some of that. I mean, we've got a set amount of, we know, standard overtime, which I call standard, but, we have been noticing, with the few additional personnel that we have been able to bring that overtime down. So that numbers has started showing a little bit of difference, because we're not having to, and we're not having to mandate as often. So that brings down, that as well. So, and so we are monitoring that. We want to say, one of our big costs that seems to be affecting us some this year as I went through the budget are drugs.
What?
Drugs that we need and have to have on the ambulances. It seems like every time you will get ready to buy drugs, they're a little bit more than they were last time you bought them. So that's affecting us some. So we're, of course, they're inventoried in and inventoried out. So they got a system on those, but we are watching those closely. And then, like you said, transportation, we're watching. We did have, bought a new truck, and we also have, a couple of things we paid for and some larger payments up front. Those kind of start averaging out some, but it still is something we've got to keep a close eye on.
Are there any, so the reason I bring this up is I heard it at Rotary today. We heard from Scott Guthrie from the bank, and he was discussing the economy and different things, and he mentioned tariffs, and we're all hear about tariffs, and I think eventually they're gonna work it out and things will be back to normal. But are there, if we go 6 months with tariffs, any particular part of our budget that might get impacted? Is there a way to know that?
There are some companies that are charging tariffs. Matter of fact, I processed a bill this weekend that they put a tariff fee on there above everything else.
You know, I think our biggest thing may be, you know, we'd have to be, and I don't know how much it would really affect, it would affect us, but you know, your office supplies and some things like that, depending on where they're produced or where they come from.
Yeah.
But we, you know, I know for the board side, every time that we are buying that stuff anymore, we're on, you know, Amazon and everywhere else that you can get anything, looking to see where the best price is, that day. And then we've got some local folks we use too, and we always give them a chance as well, so.
Amazon was talking about putting a tariff on there, but the president called them and I think they changed their mind.
I would think capital expenditures for equipment would be affected.
Yeah, I ordered something
Steel prices.
Friday and there was
Yeah,
a tariff on it.
and that's one of the reasons, you know, the IFAS building that we just was really pushing and trying to get done, because there's a steel price, and there's still an increase in June. If that doesn't change, there will be one in June.
Yep.
But we got all that done and everything's ordered, so we beat that. We beat that as well, so.
Good. Anybody got anything else? Okay. Move on. About the time certain, so I guess we're down to commissioner report. I do have one more question. Finance, you gave us theirs, okay? I appreciate it, looks good. Just to help me make sure I'm reading it right, at the top, you have population, And then, department expenditure totals. You have, the first number would be their budget for that year, and then their per capita would be per person? Is that how, am I reading that right? Oh, it's the actual expenses, okay. Right, it wouldn't be the budget, it'd be the actual. So that's what they
What we
spent, so
spent.
you divided that and calculated that out to how much it would be per person. Mhm. And you did that for Lotchway, Swanee, Levy, Dixon, Gilchrist, that's good, I like it. I like
Yeah,
it.
appreciate you doing that.
Yeah.
Give us some time to look at it and maybe we can discuss it at a future meeting and, have you given it to all the department heads, like the constitutional officer or?
This just got completed. so-
Okay.
Okay. All right, we'll move on to commissioner report, Commissioner Sharon,
I don't have anything.
okay, Commissioner Smith?
I was gonna mention, well, one question, Bobby, is I noticed they're doing some utility work on like a county road next to me. Do we get noticed on that, or do we know what's normally going on as far as utility work, or would they have to apply?
What type of utility work?
It looked like they were drilling, I mean, it almost looked like a gas pipe. Wow.
The only people that really notify, well, if it's a gas line or something, yes, they would have to notify us.
Well, I noticed on 26 between here and Newberry, they're putting in,
We didn't get notified on that
Okay.
because that's all in state right away.
right,
That's what I told
Is that a
somebody.
gas line? Is that
Yeah,
what that
that's a
is?
gas line.
That's what I've heard.
Yeah, they're not required to notify us on that one because, it's in state right away.
okay. Well, I'll check with you after. The other thing I was gonna mention is maybe most everybody saw the state Republican Party has, sent out or have a campaign. They're calling it Rollback. Basically, they're campaigning, promoting that each county roll back their taxes to the rollback rate. And, it's just something that if you haven't seen it, maybe take a look at it. And I know we consider that every year and we strive to reduce the amount of taxes and the millage. And even though real estate values are going up, we've tried to reduce the millage rate. And, just something you might want to take a look at and we consider in the future. That's all I have.
Okay, Commissioner Martin?
I attended the CARES banquet the other night, had a nice turnout, there. One of our local farms, the North Florida, it's not North Florida Holstein, it's now Florida Holstein. They were recognized for their, CARES projects, trying to follow BMPs, trying to monitor their wells, trying to, do things that are the right and do it the right way. So I thought it was nice that I got that information, and we just had a good time there, and that was a farm from Gilchrist that was recognized.
Good. Anything else?
No, other than the call, that Mr. Slayton's talked about and, others, but I said, until we get some rain, there's not gonna be a whole lot we can do with the roads, you know, they're washboarding now but I think that I went down today and a lot of the roads looked like they'd been done already since we got that rain, and so I was glad to see that picking up. Also appreciate them getting the, tree off of Mr. Smith's property there. I know that was a hunk of wood. We could burn that in our fireplace for a couple of years if we all had a piece of it. And so, but everything else is good.
Okay, Commissioner Thomas?
I got called about animal control, and I think 2 or 3 of y'all might got the same call. I think, I've talked to Mr. Crosby, and I think the system works long as people make a formal complaint to animal control, and animal control has about to investigate. But then again, I talked to Mr. Crosby and put fines on people, but we have no way of collecting the fines, and I reckon people know it. But we need to figure out what we can do to, if you go to somebody's house and you just give them a ticket and then they gotta pay it, you're in a conflict.
Well, there's actually a provision, I'm working on it too, about some of the, coordination with the clerk's office fines, and that deals with animal control, and there's also a provision in that ordinance that's been incorporated here that you can refer those to collections. I don't know how successful we've been in trying to do that in the past, but that's one method, but some people are judgment proof. Those are civil infractions, can't put them in jail. You could get the judge to enter what's called an order to show cause, or a rule to show cause. And if they don't show up, then she could find them in contempt and get in jail for that, direct contempt. But other than that, infractions, are payable by fines and not by jail time, so.
Well, the case that we've all gotten phone calls, or I think most of us have gotten phone calls, it seems to be over and over and over. It's not just a one time, but this has been going on for a long time. And it just seems like they've been fined and they're not paying it and they're still letting their dogs out, and there needs to be a way to crack down on it.
Tommy had the same problem.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I went and talked to Erica, and, me and her had a real good talk, very cooperative. And she told me that they were working on a plan, on some suggestions. And I encouraged her, anything that we can do to help her do her job and a better job, and some ideal suggestions, we're open for it. I certainly am. And, so I think I would like, now that Bobby's back, I'd like to sit down and share with him mine her conversation, and then let's see what we can come up
We ought
with.
to have a workshop on this and that.
Well, let's talk with Erica, and let me talk. I already talked to her and talked to Bobby, and we'll, if we need to have one, we will. But, maybe we can come up with some suggestions with Bobby's help and Erica's help, that we can maybe put some things together, and Duke's help, that we can, if these people's not paying their fines, let's see what we can do about it. If people don't want to cooperate, 80% of the people cooperate. And I told Erica, I'm not concerned about the 80% that cooperate. I'm worried about the 20 that don't.
Yeah.
And hopefully we can come up with something, some ideas or some suggestions or some ways that we can, put some teeth in it and wake people up. But, let me talk with them and sit down with Bobby, and then we'll come up with
Keep
something.
us updated.
Yeah, I will. At the next meeting, we'll have an
Yeah,
update.
one of the things that passed the legislature this time is a dangerous dog bill. And we might want to take a look at that and see how what I understand, it would increase the liability, required by a dangerous dog owner, like $1 million or something, in addition to other stricter things. And maybe Mr. Lang, if you could take a look at that and see how that might affect what we're talking about.
Yeah, I think they're trying to beef up what they already had on the book, make it a little bit stronger and a little bit, harsher. But yeah, I certainly want to do something, because I'm a victim myself. And I will work with Bobby and Erica, like I said, and at the next board meeting, we'll have something to report, I hope. Anything else? Okay. Dollar General, still on schedule as far as I know, the end of the month. There was a guy out there this morning, a service truck. I think the valve they told me that they needed for the fire suppression may have come in, and it looked like he was out there to do something with that. So, from what he told me, they had to get it in and then had to get it inspected. His projection was, somewhere between the middle and the last of May, Dollar General should be opening. So I'm gonna hope for that.
I had one other thing I just thought of. I went out today to Spring Ridge and talked to the boys working on the road and gave them a high five on everything they've done out there. Really looks good. If they can't be happy with that road, they'll never be happy with one. It was so pretty, I thought I might want to buy a lot out there. It's gorgeous out there. They've done a great job with that road. It really looks good. It's just as smooth as it could be, and they said they'll be finishing up this week.
Good deal.
It does look good,
And
I
it
have to
does.
say. Fantastic job. The only other thing I had, I did have a chance to meet Mr. Byron Donalds. I'd met him before, but he was at the event on Friday night in Levy County, and he asked me how I felt about the proposal that the governor has to do away with property taxes. And I told him, I said, Mr. Donald, I agree with it. I'd love to see it. I'm a taxpayer myself. I said, but unless they come up with a way to replace our budget money, we can't do it. We don't have enough commerce to raise enough sales tax or anything like that to replace that $11 million in our budget. And I said, I've heard talk about maybe a consumption tax or a statewide tax that they put all the money in a pot and all 67 counties can dip into it and get what they have to replace what they would be losing. If they would do that, I know a place like Orlando would take in millions of dollars, okay? We wouldn't, but they could. But if we could come up with a shared program like that so that we could, replace our budget money with that, then I'd be all for it. But to just do it and expect Gilchrist County to come up with the money, I said, we can't do it. And we're not in the boat by ourselves. There's a lot of small counties that just couldn't do it. There's no way to do it. Your sales tax would have to be so much, people wouldn't buy nothing. But anyway, he said that he would consider that, and he would certainly, look into it and, make some suggestions himself. So, I thought it was good to talk to him, and I appreciate him asking that because it is a big concern of all of ours. But that's all I have. Does anybody have anything else?
Where are they at with term limits on commission?
It failed this year.
They took it out again. They are going back, they did not get a balanced budget, so they are going back into, meeting again. Is it this week, Earl, or no? I understood they were gonna take this week off and go back to next week.
Start next Tuesday, I think.
Taking a week off.
There, I've got something right here that says there's an expectation the legislature would return to Tallahassee sometime during the week of May 12th to finalize budget details and tax cut provisions. But the session itself is extended through June 6th.
Okay. Any more commissioner reports? Public participation. Anybody like to address the board at this time? Okay, I see nobody. Got a motion by Thomas and a second by Commissioner Smith and Bill Martin that we adjourn. So all in favor say aye.
Aye.
We adjourn.